If you have ever been a fan of vintage car restoration, then the name Danny Koker shouldn't be strange to you, as he has made a name for himself restoring some of the most impressive cars belonging to some well-known individuals. In addition, he has built a career in television and music, which speaks of his vast talents. However, it hasn't always been a smooth sail for the star, as he has been caught in several controversies over the years. At some point, he had to do some time in jail, owing to a discovery that shocked his fans. Care to find out more? Just stick around for a bit. Danny Koker, famously known as the Count from Counting Cars, was born on January 5, 1964, in Cleveland, Ohio. He grew up with parents steeped in music and craftsmanship. His early years were dipped into creativity and mechanics, as well as the binding force of family. His father instilled a love for both music and automobiles in Danny, setting the course for one of the most popular car enthusiasts and television personalities. Danny Koker's father was a talented musician, engineer, Army veteran, and classic car lover. He was a musician with the Cathedral Quartet, one of the most popular Southern gospel groups. His work ethic and dedication to his craft left a huge impression on his son. Being raised in a family where music played a pivotal role, Danny was also subjected to the performing aspect and the discipline to succeed at it. Also, Danny's father had a fascination with cars. He liked them not as a means of transport, but as works of art and feats of engineering. Since he was old enough to remember, Danny Jr. had spent hours in his father's workshop learning how to repair and restore cars. These instilled in Danny a lifelong passion for classic cars, respect for craftsmanship, and attention to detail. There were always classic cars in the garage, either needing a fix or to be returned to their original look. He taught Danny how to tear engines down and rebuild transmissions, among many other things, along with restoring the outer look of vintage cars. Apart from the technical know-how that this hands-on exposure imparted to him, an appreciation for the history and art of automobiles was also instilled in Danny. One of the most critical points in young Danny's life happened when his father gave him a 1966 Ford Mustang. This became one of the teaching tools for Danny. Along with his father, they rebuilt the Mustang into a shining example of automotive perfection. This also created a strong bond between father and son, which would lead to Danny's will to do something with cars. Music was fairly common in the Koker family home, and something which Danny, growing up, enjoyed quite a bit, as there was so much flair associated with singing and playing musical instruments. He then joined forces with several of his family members for many church functions and other community events, as well as brief tours. Early exposure to live performance taught Danny the importance of connecting with an audience that served him so well later in his television career. His father let him try everything connected with music, from vocals to instruments, and that is how he got a full feel for the art. These joint performances developed in him not only musical talent, but also a sense of teamwork and discipline. While the better part of Danny's education was formal, most of his learning occurred in the garage and on stage with his father. He had a penchant for creativity and problem-solving at school, nurtured through extracurricular interests. One would argue that Danny's informal education, in the form of his father's mentorship, played a much larger role in his development. The Koker family often got together, performing gospel music at functions. These not only instilled a deeper love for music in Danny, but also helped him cope with the stress of live performances. During these years, he even developed the charismatic stage presence that would later become part of his persona as an adult. The Koker performances glorified family unity and encouraged the talent in their children. Danny often remembered those days as days that brought them together and would always remain a precious memory. By the time Danny was in his teens, he was good as a car restoration professional, a fact that told much about his father's patience in teaching him and encouraging him to make a good job out of it. Danny's father had passed down more than just skills. He inculcated what became a certain way of life. The values that he had put into his son, that hard work, creativity, and integrity must not falter, became the base on which Danny based his career. Be it doing up a classic car or playing on the stage, Danny performed every act with the same passion and vigor that his father did. This was the tradition of passion and perseverance defining the career of Danny, not just as the man at Count's Customs, but also as a TV personality. Every car that is restored and every note played served lessons learned from his dad. One could say that Danny Koker's childhood has been a well-woven tapestry, from family and music down to the love for cars. His interest in various hobbies was instilled by his father, Danny Koker Sr., who more or less proved to be a good mentor and partner to this rising celebrity in these early formative years. From singing with the family in gospel renditions to restoring a 1966 Ford Mustang, the father-son bonding during that process would prepare the bedrock for all subsequent years. These early experiences instilled in Danny not only a set of technical skills, but also a great appreciation for craftsmanship and expression. Now, being a successful car restorer and TV personality, he is still chugging along just that path, still holding on to those ideals and passion that guided him through his growth. The story of how Danny Koker went from avid auto enthusiast to highly visible television personality and musician is one that speaks volumes in passion, persistence, and determination. His love for cars was nurtured over time into a successful profession and a springboard for stardom, as was his love of music. Nourished by his non-stop passion for the crafts, his rise evidences how one man's affection for classic cars and music can win millions of hearts. After years of perfecting mechanical skills and developing an apt eye for detail, Danny Koker decided to turn a passion for classic cars into a business. Opening Count's Customs, an auto restoration and customization shop based in Las Vegas, Nevada. This was his dream that came true during the early 1990s. It reflected his style and experience, from vintage car restoration to motorcycle customization and creative vehicle designs. It took Count's Customs no time to build up an excellent reputation for its workmanship and new ways of doing things. Danny has kept it so uncomplicated, believing that every car should be treated as if it were a work of art. Every client is a partner in the process. He oversees each project personally, ensuring it takes shape to the exact standards passed down from his dad. Everything was present, from beater cars and hot rods to motorcycles. It was an atmosphere filled with everything from vintage vehicles to rock memorabilia to wild designs. People came in droves, ranging from car enthusiasts and collectors in order to have their dream cars made. With a combination of all this knowledge, in addition to his charismatic persona, Danny finally caught the attention of producers of the reality television series Pawn Stars, set in the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. He performed there quite often. A lot of that time he was summoned either to appraise or restore those classic automobiles and motorcycles that went into the shop. His segments on Pawn Stars cover anything from a vast knowledge regarding automotive history to how a vehicle should be correctly valued to his undeniable charm. Viewers quickly fell in love with Danny's segments. He drew in viewers with his evident appreciation for classic cars and his style. Indeed, Danny's appearance in Pawn Stars catapulted him to fame and brought Count's Customs into the mainstream. His shop benefited thereafter as many customers came en masse, increasing his reputation as one of the top automobile restorers in the country. It eventually went so well that Danny's success in appearing on Pawn Stars led to his very own spin-off series entitled Counting Cars, which hit the History Channel in 2012. This series followed the daily activities in Count's Customs as it restored and customized various cars and motorcycles. Counting Cars introduces viewers to the creativity, challenges, and camaraderie that define Count's Customs. Danny's appealing personality and amazing classic vintage changeovers made the show an instant hit. The elements of craftsmanship, sprinkled with some humor and some on-screen drama between Danny and his crew just to get a project going on air, interested viewers. Under Danny's leadership, Count's Customs was far greater than just an auto hotbed of innovation and art. This reality show essentially brought them to the foreground, their spectacular transformation of marvelous pieces of art and great combination of classic designs blended with modern elements. Several seasons of the show passed with a pretty enthusiastic audience. Success has surely spoken about Danny's immense talent, his vision, and his appeal to the audience. In other words, with Counting Cars, Danny proved that he is not only talented as a restorer, but also that guy who loves to tell stories about where each and every vehicle had been, from being a family heirloom to some sort of rare collectible. Each had a story, and how Danny could honor those stories is something viewers found themselves relating to. This in turn spilled over to Count's Customs as a shop and a globally established brand. Fans from within and outside the states flocked to Las Vegas, Nevada, just to see the shop and hopefully catch a glimpse of Danny and his crew in action. Business was booming, and so was the list of services they were doing for the custom restoration and design department. But even as Danny Koker was one of the most successful guys in the car world and on television, he never forgot the love of his life, music. Having grown up surrounded by musicians, Danny had always loved performing and writing music. Even while his career as a car restorer and television personality took center stage, he remained committed to his musical pursuits. Along with the rising fame, Danny had started a rock band, Count 77. The band was the culmination of Danny's love of classic rock and blues. As lead vocalist, Danny brings that same passion and charisma to the stage as he does to the garage and to television. Count 77 drew an almost immediate following with multiple albums, touring across the country. The group had that retro sound going on with powerful vocals. In the process, Danny would fall into that elite category of multi-talented folks, being a musician, businessman, and TV personality rolled into one. The ability of Danny to shine in three fields of life, including automotive restoration, television, and music, speaks volumes about his commitment to work. Whether restoring a car, filming an episode of Counting Cars, or on stage playing with Count 77, Danny tackles each endeavor with the same energy and dedication. In Danny's case, the car and music were not careers, but ways of expressing his identity and creativity. Being rooted and focused thus helped him build a legacy celebrating both passions. From car enthusiast to musician, television star, and rock band frontman, the transformation of Danny Koker is an exemplary example of passion and perseverance. With Count's Customs, Pawn Stars, Counting Cars, and Count 77, Danny has carved out a unique space that welds his love for classic cars and music into a multidimensional career. He has inspired a lot of his fans by showing them that one can actually turn his passions into thriving ventures. Proof that with dedication and a vision, one is capable of succeeding in several areas. Danny's story isn't about cars or music. It's about keeping your roots, being creative, and sharing what you love with the world. Among car-themed reality shows, it was History Channel's unique approach in Counting Cars for an intense cocktail of intricate restoration works, vivid characters and tales, often touching and commonplace that made it truly stand out. While the mechanics and artistry involved in the works at Count's Customs were impressive, personal stories from the crew gave this show that particular charm it had with the audience, which basically did resonate very deep beneath. The Discovery reality television series, Counting Cars, chronicled the renovation of either a car or motorcycle in every episode, but it really was never all about the nuts and bolts. Most of the vehicles that have appeared on this show meant so much more than their monetary value to the owner. Be it the story of a father wanting to restore the first car he had bought after marrying his wife, a son wanting to restore a family heirloom, or even a collector wanting to bring a rare vintage vehicle back to life, the stories added a layer of emotional depth to the show. Danny Koker's friendliness and curiosity about people, which comes across in the way he dealt with the owners of the vehicles, made sure their stories were heard and understood what those vehicles meant to them. It was his skill in bringing out these stories, taking them into the restoration, and giving them meaning that probably pushed the appeal for the show. People watched not only for the reconstruction of cars, but for those personal stories to play out before them and see the owners' feelings when they saw their most treasured memories restored. Counting Cars was all about craftsmanship and creativity. It was Danny and his crew of talented painters, mechanics, and fabricators working to make automotive dreams a reality. The show followed the skill and artistry involved in every project, from custom paint jobs and engine rebuilds to intricate detailing and one-of-a-kind designs. Added to varieties of vehicles introduced during the show, starting from classic muscle cars, motorcycles, and antiques, up to all those really quirky and unconventional vehicle builds. As a fact, seeing something different each day in every episode gave viewers reasons to return. What really set Counting Cars apart was the show's concentration on the human factor. The team of highly talented craftsmen working for Danny Koker, all with their quirky personalities, made it funny, companionable, and at times even dramatic. Amongst the beloved cast included Kevin Mack, Danny's right-hand man, Ryan Evans, the lead painter and a maker of magic in designs, and Horny Mike, the wild child of the shop with spikes everywhere. In that regard, the dynamic within the team added a layer of entertainment to complement the serious work of car restoration. It is in the banter, problem-solving, and shared passion for cars that a family feel was realized and was relatable to viewers. While Counting Cars brought fame and success to Count's Customs, it also came with its share of headaches, not in the least a very public court case that tarnished their otherwise brilliant reputation. In 2014, Joseph Frontiera filed a lawsuit against Count's Customs over the restoration of a 1967 Ford Mustang on the basis of a breach of agreement. He claimed that the shop did not deliver the car on time and had not completed the work agreed upon despite being given a reasonable advance amount of money. He also claimed mismanagement and fraud in the lawsuit, as the money given for restoration was used to pay for unrelated expenses from the subject matter. The case received heightened media awareness, with some critics insinuating the pressures brought on by an extremely popular television show had led to mistakes in the operation of a shop. In the context of the suit, Count's Customs was alleged to portray disorganization, failing most of its customer promises. This drew a denial from Danny Koker and his team, who explained it was a misunderstanding and that they were committed to settling the matter. The lawsuit sent fans reeling as they questioned the integrity of both the shop and the show. Speculation ran wild, with many wondering if demands to film Counting Cars affected the team's ability to manage customer projects. Others wondered if the focus on high-profile restorations for the show came at the expense of regular customers. However, Counting Cars survived the controversy, with Danny and his crew trying to live up to their prestige and quality work. That lawsuit was more of a wake-up call that urged Count's Customs to reassess their processes to ensure customer satisfaction. Issues like those experienced at Count's Customs highlight the need to balance growth against quality and openness of business. To Danny Koker, the experience had underlined values and principles upon which his founding principles are based. For years, Danny and his crew fought back to regain their good name and pride. The restorations continued to amaze and were evidence of the blood, sweat, and tears that were given towards each restoration. Despite the setbacks in court, Counting Cars still managed to be one of the favorite shows in the world of automobiles. It is really an inspiration to a lot of viewers when it comes to their own restorations and appreciate the beauty in classic cars, celebrating the story behind it. Indeed, it is in the ability to combine his passion for cars with a deep and abiding interest in the people that success has been attributed to Danny Koker. He has remained loyal to his passion and embraced all the challenges that come along with it, building a legacy so much greater than what's inside the garage at Count's Customs. Counting Cars has been taking viewers inside personal worlds, where owners shared various stories regarding their vehicles, which were pretty much a part of their personalities, merging an array of personal tales of various protagonists with their stories along with expertise of mechanics, personalities, and a really varied group. Despite the rough times that hit Count's Customs as a result of that lawsuit, This particular incident didn't mar the overwhelming success achieved by Counting Cars. It is actually the attribute of Danny Koker to be brave enough not to lose ground in front of the adversities that hit him head-on. Luckily, the issue was quickly resolved and wasn't allowed to linger, which could have been very bad for business. However, after years of entertaining audiences through a mix of restoring vintage cars, personal stories, and eccentric personalities of the Counts Customs Team History Channel show, Counting Cars shut its doors in 2021. Despite the show's ending, its charismatic leader, Danny Koker, moved with fluid ease into his other pursuits, quite consistent with his love for autos, music, and being hospitable. However, he seemed to struggle with addiction and redemption, making the story of Danny even more interesting. Once Counting Cars stopped airing, it remained a mystery to the majority of the fans as to why the show that had gained audiences was not on air anymore. Although no news was announced regarding the series' cancellation, many predicted that it was due to low ratings, adding that churning out new material on the show season after season would get really tough. Danny was very gracious about the show's legacy, realizing what it had done to give him the platform that he so enjoys, sharing a love of cars with a great number of other car folks around the globe. He even said he's thankful to any viewers who tuned in to watch all those years. One of the most successful ventures outside of television for Danny has been his Counts Vamped Rock Bar and Grill in Las Vegas. With his love of music and hospitality combined, Vamped quickly became a hot destination for rock lovers. The spot features live music, a friendly atmosphere, and an extensive menu, making it a favorite among locals and tourists alike. Danny envisioned Vamped more as the embodiment of rock and roll culture rather than just a bar and grill, while he himself booked a constant flow of live music, making sure its stages had iconic legends mingling with the freshest rising stars. His hands-on approach and deep love for the music helped Vamped carve out a niche within the competitive night scene in Las Vegas. Music was always one of the cornerstones of Danny's personality, and with Count 77, he found his creative outlet. As lead vocalist, Danny fronted the band that performed classic rock-inspired originals and covers. Counts 77 released albums showcasing the band's dedication to preserving the spirit of 1970s rock to a devoted following. The band toured extensively at music festivals, car shows, and many more events, which also allowed Danny to put together his love of music and cars. With his dynamic shows and sincerity as a rock music lover, he won hearts and fixed his status among the artists as one of the most popular performers. With all of these ventures, he is considered to be pretty much at the peak in this show business, but in personal aspects, Danny had darker sides. He was reported to suffer from an addiction to drugs since Counting Cars was still immense fame. The pressure from business, TV career, people, and expectations took an extraordinary level, and this superstar went toward substance abuse. As years went by, his addiction brought him to the surface of an extremely publicized incident. The authorities found evidence of possession, and Danny was taken into custody. At trial, Danny fully admitted his mistakes and showed a change of heart in the desire to get help for his addiction. He did jail time, but this would be a huge turn in his life. Incarceration gave Danny a chance to look back at his life and the choices he had made. Determined to get things right this time around, he took to all the rehabilitation programs and counseling as part of his punishment, putting his concentration into rebuilding his life and winning back his family and fans. Danny has not hidden his problems from anyone since his release and instead spoke about addiction and encouraged anyone needing to seek help for their addiction. He did a number of interviews and has also done a number of public appearances with the hopes that such people dealing with this would seek their first step to recovery. Throughout all these struggles, Danny had a partner, his wife, Koker, who stood by him through thick and thin. Corey is an entrepreneur and a former TV producer who was indispensable in managing their establishments, Counts Vamped and Counts Customs whenever he was away. Through it all, Corey's belief in Danny's ability to overcome his addictions saw him through. She gave him the needed emotional support, stood by him through legal and personal issues, and worked hard to see that their businesses kept running strong. Their relationship is a testament to mutual respect and shared passion, thus an inspiration to all who are following their journey. He also would point out how he managed to become stable with Corey, referring to her as the driving force behind his resilience and resolve to reconstruct his life. After recovery, Danny got his priorities right, maintaining a balance between health, relationships, and passion. He continued overseeing Count's customs to make sure the shop remained a name for excellence in restoring vintage cars. Danny didn't stop doing his music either. He was churning out new albums with Count 77 and playing at shows where cars met rock and roll. He would leverage his experiences as a means of teaching about mental health, often discussing how to seek help or get second chances. The conclusion of Counting Cars really closed a chapter in television history. It, however, showed how Danny could focus his creativity on different endeavors. His determination to overcome personal adversities also left indelible marks on both the entertainment and automotive worlds. Danny's story lives on as a living testimony to passion, perseverance, and love of family and friends. From restoring a classic car and churning out rock anthems, to the simplicity of just sharing his story of redemption, he continues to be an inspiration to all those who value his talent and authenticity. Danny Koker's life after Counting Cars shows the strong, sometimes impenetrable face of a man who has lived through many different lives as a television star, an entrepreneur, a musician, and a survivor. As it concerns the show, it may be over, but his story is just getting started. Along with the unwavering support of his wife, the loyalty of his fans, and his devotion to a life of purpose, Danny stands ageless, marking a presence wherever he touches. The last couple of years have been pretty eventful for Danny Koker and his wife Corey, in that there were disturbing rumors that Corey had died. A fast-spreading rumor on the internet sent shockwaves to the fans and brought lots of disturbance for the couple until it was finally labeled as utterly false by the Kokers. The entire incident really underlined the grim realities public figures face in trying to balance their lives between fame and privacy, especially when totally unfounded rumors threaten to disrupt life. Since then, the Kokers have made conscious efforts to keep their personal life away from media attention. Whereas both are still into active pursuits, Danny with his automotive work and music, and Corey in managing their businesses, they have kept a fine line drawn between their professional and personal lives. This discretion has helped them maintain a sense of normalcy amid the pressures of fame. Meanwhile, fans are ever eager to know what Danny is up to next. Now that Counting Cars is behind him, many wonder where his creative energies will go. To new projects in car restoration, to music with Count 77, or to expanded ventures such as Count's Vamped Rock Bar and Grill. Danny has shown time and again that his passion knows no bounds. The couple's strength in staying grounded in the face of challenges would have only glued their bond with the public. As this new chapter unfolds for them, the supporters of the Kokers remain confident for the future, being sure that whatever Danny is going to do next will be as full of dynamism and inspiration as his past endeavors have been. Meanwhile, Danny and Corey keep leading with their unwavering spirits of resilience, creativity, and love that have epitomized them on screen and off to date. What was your favorite restoration episode from Counting Cars? Let us know in the comments and see you in the next one.